this Fun Day, Money Monday. Welcome to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, powered by the National Cannabis Industry Association, also known as the NCIA. I am your host, Khadijah Adams. I am the founder of Girl Get That Money, a business empowerment coaching firm that is meant to empower women in business and women aspiring to be in business, whether you are in or outside of the cannabis industry. I'm also the founder of the Green Street Academy, an online educational academy that teaches you the basics of investing in cannabis stocks. Now, the goal of our show here at the Cannabis Minority Report podcast is to really highlight minority entrepreneurs in the space that are doing their thing, right? And to also bring you the latest news and what's happening in social equity and with minorities in the cannabis space. So we're going to be interviewing minority entrepreneurs, minority-owned companies, as well as companies that support social equity and even social equity applicants themselves, and a host of other cannabis industry leaders and pioneers. Joining me today is my very special guest, Shaunie Haynes. And let me tell you something, you guys. She is a cannabis advocate and consultant. She is an Army retired vet. She is a former medical social worker, a peacemaker, and owner of Clouds XM Incorporated, also known as Lazy Days in Pflugerville. And she is the founder of Cannavet Live, and I cannot wait to interview her. So when we return from our commercial break, we are going to catch you up on the latest news about minorities in cannabis and what the heck is happening in social equity in the cannabis space. And why are we even still having this doggone conversation? But hey, we're also going to learn more about Shaunie and her journey into the cannabis industry. So if you are watching us live via Facebook, now is a great time to share this link with your friends, families, and associates. Have them hop on and watch too, you guys, so that if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. We are absolutely happy to help you and answer any questions that you may have. So don't forget to hit that share button. We'll be back right after these messages.
I am the cannabis industry.
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 We are the cannabis industry.
And we are proving that regulation works.
All right, so y'all know I gotta say this. Many of y'all know that I live in between Arizona and Texas and all of this, and I travel a lot, right? And I like to keep up with the latest news, especially about what's going on in Arizona, because I am working with an organization that's going to be helping social equity applicants in the state of Arizona. Now, a judge in Arizona dismisses the lawsuit against social equity dispensary licenses. So an Arizona judge has dismissed a lawsuit challenging the state's rules of implementing a program to award 26 social equity business licenses that the Arizona Department of Health Services, or the ADHS, will award under Arizona's 2020 law legalizing recreational marijuana. Now, the ruling is issued by Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Randall Warner, and said that the rules published by the ADHS satisfy the broad mandates under the voter-approved law, but on the ballot through an initiative campaign. Well, okay. The potentially lucrative social equity licenses will be issued under the law's provision to set aside 26 licenses for people from communities disproportionately affected or impacted by the enforcement of previous marijuana laws. Okay, why don't you just say by the failed war on drugs? Okay, so here's the truth. First of all, we shouldn't have to ask you for social equity licenses. This should be a given. And also, why is there a limit anyway? Shouldn't we be able to get social equity licenses or licenses anyhow? I mean, aren't we in 2022? And why are we still having this conversation? You see, the lawsuit filed by the Greater Phoenix Urban League and the corporation said that the rules are deficient. They are very deficient, and I agree with you. They lack the provisions such as a prohibition against license transfers and a requirement that licensees' expenditures and profits remain in their communities. In other words, someone can actually purchase these licenses from social equity applicants. How does that even build, generational wealth for that social equity applicant? I'm just really frustrated at the state of Arizona right now. And I'm frustrated for the fact that we still have to have this conversation about social equity. Okay, I'm over it already. It's just ridiculous that we still have to fight for the same thing. And then in another state, what about Illinois? They have actually ignored applicants, okay, completely ignored them. In fact, they had a deadline that they missed on December 21st, okay, of 2021. So Illinois' Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, or the Act, they missed the deadline again, putting well over 20, 30 social equity applicants in financial hardship, because many of them, they had to get this real estate and put down earnest money and so on and so forth. There's one in particular called, I think it's called 1837 Craft Grow LLC, also known as 1837. Well, the Green Spoon Martyr team, they filed a Rule 383 motion on behalf of 1837 on January 5th. Now, the argument was similar to the one that they had raised or tried to raise in the lower court. Number one, citing that the stay of all 60 licenses is overbroad because of the disqualified applicants would be, and at most, entitled to 13 of those licenses if they were very successful. And then two, they were announcing up to 47 winners that would provide applicants like 1837 with critical information to help them avoid catastrophic financial consequences arising from them missing that deadline yet again. So there are people and companies, social equity applicants like Elevation Botanicals, Shimmer Farms, Big City Ventures, SCGC, EJ's Dream, Green Arrow, Kind Craft Grow, Transporters, Mother Mary's Meds, and so on and so forth. These people have lost and are losing money. And so Rule 383, the motion was actually denied, you guys, without any explanation. So for the last 2 years, politicians, bureaucrats, and judges have ignored social equity applicants in the state of Illinois. And here's my own opinion, not that of the NCIA and not that of the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, Khadijah Adams. So if you want to come after me, come after me. Illinois, get it together, okay? Because you guys have been known for criminality in politics, okay? We're not going to stand for it in the cannabis industry. We've had enough of it already. Get it together for real, okay? All right, I digress just a minute. And then, cannabis have multi-layered effects in 2020. So there was a rally in front of the state capitol building in Sacramento. I don't know if you guys heard of this, but it was January 13th, and it was brought on by cannabis farmers and minority cannabis business owners. They came together to address Governor Gavin Newsom's 2022 and 2023 California state budget and the excise tax increase for retailers and a cultivation tax that took into effect January 1st. Now, Kika Keith, who is the owner of Gorilla RX Wellness in Crenshaw, she actually spoke at the rally for the statewide tax reform for minority populations and their families who really felt the brunt of the war on drugs. Now, Keith is a social equity applicant and is a part of that program, right? And according to LA Department of Cannabis Regulations, the social equity program seeks to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis space in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address this disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. Well, according to Keith, she basically said that the local government and the state has not held up their promise specifically for social equity operators for small businesses and cannabis farms. In fact, in 4 months, her tax bill was $140,000. Okay, not including Newsom's proposed excess state tax that Keith says is estimated it's going to cost her about an additional $135,000. So this is crazy because basically once they're licensed, the city doesn't have any assistance to make sure that social equity applicants can even keep their license by either reducing or eliminate the taxes for those that are disproportionately affected, according to Keith. So the only thing that she can see that they're putting social equity, the only place they're putting social equity applicants is at the bottom of the list of priorities. You guys, we can't continue to let this happen. This is crazy. First of all, we're still having a social equity fight. We still have to ask for something that should be ours anyway. Okay, and now we're having a fight and you're still coming out in the forefront saying all of what you're doing for social equity applicants, and then you're going under the table to pull something like this and hitting us with taxes, the same as you tax these big companies. Man, y'all need to get over it already, because this is a wrap. So I'm pretty ticked off right now, because it's sad that we live in a place in the United States of America in 2022, and we still have to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, social equity, social justice. You guys, it's a different landscape, a totally different landscape. And I think it's by time for us to get it together, okay? Because we've had enough of it. The people have had enough of it. We're not going to stand for it. Some things have to change. So Sacramento, you need to get it together, okay? All right, you guys. So when we return, we're going to learn more about cannabis entrepreneur and consultant Shaunie Haynes, and we're going to hear about her journey into the cannabis industry as an Army vet, you guys. I'm so proud of her, and I admire women who are vets and women who have been in the military, because it takes a special, strong type of woman to go into any branch of the military, okay? Less known the Army. So I can't wait to hear her story. So, when we get back, we're gonna, find out, who she is, what she does, what she's been up to, and what kind of company she has in the industry. So in the meantime, though, we want you guys to tag your friends and anyone that you think would be interested in hearing what's going on here at the Cannabis Minority Report podcast. You definitely want to hear about Shaunie's story when we be back right after these messages.
So we're very proud to be NCIA members. We've been members for the last 3 years, and I gotta say, every event, every conference, every get together that's sponsored by NCIA is a good opportunity, not just to meet others in the industry, obviously, but really to talk about the industry as a whole, where it's going, where it's been, our challenges to date.
We feel really grateful to NCIA for including us in the educational tracks the last 3 years. We've been at every seed to sale and most of the shows on the West Coast.
Every time we're here, I always have a sense that it's not just another one of these industry conferences, that it's actually that it is the industry's lobbying arm, and that it's an organization that is protecting all of us and fighting for the legal future that we all need.
At the end of the day, the most important and impactful thing for us is the community. It's really about the people that NCIA brings together, and the events like this one that NCIA organizes for us to gather.
If you're in this industry, NCIA is trying to influence it positively for you. If you're not speaking up, if you're not participating in committees, you're missing out on a huge window. Everyone wants change. Well, this is one of the ways you do it.
You don't have to be a member of the NCIA. You could just do nothing and let them do everything for you and fix all the problems that need to be fixed for the industry to work properly, and you could just sit on the sidelines. That would be fine, but it'd be better if you were a member.
All right, you guys, we are back with Shaunie Haynes, and she is a cannabis advocate and consultant. She's also an Army retired vet, former medical social worker, a peacekeeper, and owner of Clouds XM Incorporated, also known as Lazy Days in Pflugerville. And she is also the founder of CannaVet Live. So here to share her story, her cannabis story with us, is Shaunie Haynes. Welcome to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I am doing quite well today. Well today.
Fantastic. Again, I love your lipstick. I love your originality and your authenticity.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us about your background and more about your background and the type of work you did prior to entering the cannabis industry.
So my actual history dates back to Los Angeles, California. I'm literally from South Central LA. How I got to Texas was I was in high school, my last year of high school during the LA riots. So I experienced that. And at that point, I knew I didn't want to stay there. As a Black female, there's so many different things that can pull you down and set you back. And so I joined the Army. That's how I got to Texas. I've been here in Texas back and forth through different assignments since 1993. And so with being in the military, there's, these things where you can use cannabis. Cannabis was like forbidden and taboo, and then also against the rules and regulations, to where you could literally end up in jail if you were found either selling it, which is something I do now, and also, lose your rank and financial stability and reputability if you were found to have a hot, urinalysis. And so coming from Los Angeles, where, I first learned about cannabis through family members and things like that, it was something that people just didn't talk about. And it wasn't, and definitely for us as minorities, it was almost seen, it had a very negative connotation, like you were a pie, you were a pothead, and was not looked at medicinally at all. So after I retired, I was then able to do more research and investigation myself, and then also personal research with myself. When I retired, I was on 12 pills, a walking boot, and a cane. Some of those pills have been taken off now, but because cannabis is my medicine. And so that began my journey. I started on a broad spectrum brand, began learning about the differences between full spectrum, broad spectrum, of course, because of the THC content. And with that just kind of began my journey, because I then became a true advocate for cannabis medicinally. It was no longer looked at as a recreational thing, or, oh, let's socially get, elevated and things like that. And so I began, when you talk about consultation end of it, I began talking to people about it, and people wanted to hear what I had to say, even though I felt my knowledge was pretty basic. There are some people that know about the endocannabinoid system and all the medical terms and stuff like that. And those are the people that fascinate me. But I just keep it basic on the level of teaching a 5-year-old, which is something I learned in the military. You need to talk to the lowest person. So that they can understand what you mean. Mm-hmm. And so with that, being on the consumer side, being on the advocate side, and then being on the business side, is where kind of my spouse and I, we found the Lazy Days franchise, and we went into that. And that's been a journey within itself. When you talk about social equity and things like that, we've had some of those challenges, just being Black and being in this business. Yeah. First of all, being Black, you're not even really supposed to have a business in the sights of some people. So that's already a barrier.
Okay, wait.
So,
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Say that again. Can you just repeat that one more time?
Oh, I was just saying that being Black, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add the other one in there, being a woman and being Black in this industry creates all sorts of barriers for you and challenges that people, even in the business or have been in business on, you hear things like, oh, it'll be okay, or, oh, just try this. And I'm like, you can try that. I cannot try that. If I try that, my results will not be your results. Mm-hmm. And that has been a consistent theme, being in business and then also being in the cannabis business. And as a woman being in this business, I know people call it flex, but sometimes I feel like I have to tell people that I'm retired Army, because it almost seems like they inflate with a different level of respect for me. I don't like to have to do that, but it's like, I have to wait. I know I look young. I know you may think that I'm Black and I'm a woman and I'm not smart or whatever the case may be, but let me give you a little bit of my background. I'm also a UT grad, and it's not for my it's for my graduates. I literally have a master's degree from UT Austin. And so I have to flex that stuff sometimes, especially with men. Mm-hmm. Because they look at me and then they ask me, where's my husband or where's my business partner? And I'm just like, I'm the operational. The person you need to talk to is me. And then some people, they have a different way about it when they deal with me after that. And I respect that. And then some people, they don't want to deal with me, and that's okay. Just move out the way.
Or do you ever get the question, is it just you?
Yes, very much so. Or where's your boss? Or where's your manager? Just one example, I had a very good friend work for me at the shop, and she's a Caucasian female,
Mhm.
and she's like medicinally, like medically termed it brilliant, you know. And
Mhm.
so I made her like the team lead for the shop, to where I would be out, and one lady came in and had I would say the audacity to say, "Oh, she lets you run her shop. That's really nice of her." And I'm just like, so
What?
yeah.
Wait,
I
wait,
literally
wait, wait. Time out.
and so my
What? Okay, she said that she let you run her. She was talking to you.
yes, in front of my other staff, that she wasn't there. It was like two of my other younger staff there, and their mouths just dropped open when they said it. And so the I guess the less seasoned person in me probably would have been like, no. I da da da. But that's not the time for me to flex. I let her believe what she wanted to. We still served her. We gave her whatever information she needed, and then she went on about her way. And then, because my thing is, eventually you'll find out who owns it. If you really, really want to know, and you really want to do your research, you will find out. So like with, and just another, yeah. So I mean, right now we bought
It's
another
just the
business. So we
mentality
bought
of the people that still shocks me. I mean, and I don't know why it still shocks me, but it's like, I mean, don't you know, like we're in 2022 now, and you still have this way of thinking, like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah.
It's saddening sometimes. It can be hurtful, but it just means that I have to work harder and be more diligent in, not just dispelling the myths about cannabis, but just
Yeah.
dispelling the myths about being a Black woman in business,
Yeah.
and about being a person that does have values and integrity and work ethic. And because when people see us coming as minorities, they look at us like, oh, lazy, or oh, there's going to be a problem, or oh, you're not going to be able to pay your bills on time. And me and my partner pride ourselves on paying our bills on time and making sure that our staff is paid on time, even through COVID. One of the blessings that we have is that we don't have to draw from our investments to live. I'm retired, I get my own check. He works, he gets his own check. So whatever we make here goes back into it. If it's an upgrade, if it's, a couple of raises, or if it's more products. And so that's what makes us a little bit different when it comes to small business owners. We bought a barbecue spot as well, and I'm still experiencing some of that social inequality. Like, oh, where's the owner, the other owner? And they were Caucasian. And so sometimes I tell them that I'm the new owner, and sometimes I don't, because it's sometimes not a conversation to be had at that time.
Right.
Again, you'll find out eventually.
Right. So you know what? That brings me to your business and under the cannabis umbrella, right? So tell us more about your company and the products that you offer consumers and patients.
So Clouds XM, that actually has a meaning as far as it's an acronym, which is collaborative leaders operating under determined success. And the XM is for the extreme. So under that cloud, we have the events, we have our location, we have products. With the storefront that we have everything from drinks, coffee, tea, smoothies. We also sell the retail products like tinctures, topicals, gummies, other like honey, things like that. And our goal is for you to come in and leave better than whence you came, even if that's just a smile when you came in with whatever. We've had people come in and try a coffee or tea that could barely get out the car, and after they spent a couple of about 20 minutes and they've ingested something there, liquid wise or whatever, they've reported that they leave feeling better. Of course, I can't promote all these things on social media because that's making claims. So we let the customers tell it. So also under that umbrella, we have the 420 in the Clouds event that happens in April. This is my second annual one. But it just began as trying to create a space for business to business, but also some consumers, but more business to business entrepreneurs, of people that want to be in the business or that are in the business, but to have a safe space for us to talk about it. And the fact that it's outside you can be free to do what you want. If you want to be barefooted, if you want to sit by a tree, if you want to go to the river, and still enjoy the cannabis, but you get to talk about cannabis in its rawest form with other people. You don't have to be like, oh, is someone's mother around and that kind of stuff. So that's what that event is
I heard
basically
you guys
for.
had a great time last year. I missed out on it, but that's okay though. So I don't plan to miss out on any more of them. So I heard you guys had a really good time. So let me ask you. So tell me about social equity. What does social equity mean to you personally and in business in this industry?
I mean, I want to say for me is fairness and, the ability to have access to things and resources to include loans and vendors and things like that without those barriers of race for me or gender. Those are the ones that I've experienced. And being able to, even with funding, I mean, it's funding is like a nightmare for this business. And I feel like as soon as they associate you with something negative, then it kind of creates this mountain for you to try to get over. Anytime you go into your bank and comments are made about other connections to your business, I can't really specify due to legalities, but and you're associated in that because you're a minority, it's a problem. To get denied a loan from your bank that you've been with for 3 years because of what someone else has done or because what they feel you might not be able to do is kind of saddening when people that are, for me being Black, but people that are not even from this country can go get a loan and they've only been here a year. It just kind of, it makes you a little sad, and it just you wonder where the fairness is. You wonder where how do I take advantage of the opportunity to get to the level that the other person maybe that does not look like me. And that's just the struggle that we continue to have. But sometimes I think it's to make you quit so that they can just move you off to the side and just like, okay, we can fill you with someone else that doesn't resemble a minority. And it's a sad thing to experience, but we're still here, we're still driving, we're still making connections with people that don't have social equity issues. And so, and coming from a military background, fair and impartiality is one of the things that I pride myself on as being a former sergeant. You have to evaluate things from a fair and impartial standpoint if you're really saying that, what you're doing is equality based. So, and I just feel that that's not what's happening. Will I say, is it happening more than it was for my grandparents? Yes. And so my goal is to show my ancestors and reflect what my ancestors have instilled in me and continue on with being a leader, because a leader doesn't really quit. You regroup and you get more assets or resources from wherever you can draw them from, and then you keep building. And so that is what the goal of my husband and I is at this moment.
I love that because it is about being consistent. It's about being persistent. It's about not giving up and not waiting, because, when you think about social equity and what we're doing, we're asking the same people who put us in the situation we're in to help us get out of that situation. And we really shouldn't have to ask. I mean, to be quite honest with you, it should be, like an obligation type situation, but guess what? It's not. And, but at the same time, coming together, as a community and pulling in our resources together as a community to uplift one another and to collaborate with one another should really be a focus. With that being said, what does your company currently need? Capital, employees, distribution? What is it that your company currently needs?
Staffing is probably number one at the moment. Staffing is currently one at the moment. It's just, COVID has just kind of ripped us apart. And I will say that I'm probably more a little harder when it comes to hiring because of just my background and my military background. It's like, I want to hire the right people. I don't want to just hire anybody. because that triggers me. I can't, like, if you lack work ethic, do not work for me. If you have a problem with timeliness, you can't work for me. I'm here to mentor you, but I'm here to mentor you from another level, not the basic level, what your mom and pop should have taught you. Like, get to work on time, like, that kind of stuff. I'm not here for that. So
You're not raising
I'm
children.
hired.
You're not raising children.
Yes, I'm not mom. I'm paying you to do what I ask you to do. And that's where people fail to understand the difference. Like, if I'm talking to you, and you might feel that my tone is firm. I'm never disrespectful. I don't curse and call people by their names. I'm just very direct, because 9 times out of 10, I have like 10 other things I need to be doing. And I don't have 10 minutes to try to explain something to you that definitely I've explained to you 4 times before. So staffing is probably the biggest issue right now. I'll be honest and tell you that another cannabis venture that my husband has bought into is a crew lounge, and that'll be opening up in San Antonio soon. So we're still expanding other things inside of the cannabis industry to get to the point to where we can give back freely without any worry about that money being gone and not being invested in the business to sustain the actual storefronts. Because a lot of people don't understand. I've run business from home before, but having a storefront is a different beast.
Yes, it is.
Because someone has to be there in order for you to make money. And so it's a different stressor. And with having 2 of those now, it's like, and almost 3, it's like it's trying to keep all the balls in the air. So definitely looking for a general manager.
But you're looking for a self-starter. You're looking for a self-starter, someone who's mature, who understands responsibility, who's also timely, who gets to work not on time, because they say on time is late, right? But 15 minutes before time all the time. And someone who's teachable, coachable, and trainable, but
definitely
someone who I hear you. Now look, you got to hit my girl up over there at the Illinois Equity Staffing. She helped me with my assistant. That's how I hired my assistant. But anyway, just a little plug in for you. And guess what? Her name is Shaunie too. She just spells her name differently. So hit her up.
Definitely.
What type of advice would you give to other entrepreneurs entering this space?
My biggest thing is I tell people, please do your due diligence before you start anything. You need to know what you're going into, where your money is going to come from to start building that, what your incidentals might be, like, talking to people. And that's another thing that people fail to do. You don't consult with people that are already in the business. And then some people, when they do consult with you, when they're already in the business, it's like they want to ask you all of your insider information before they've even learned or implemented the basic information, So doing your due diligence, getting consulting with someone, making sure you have time to do it, because it's going to be a road, and you definitely need to have a support system. I think those are my 4 things.
Awesome. Great advice. Very good advice, I tell you. And then how do people reach out to you? Is there a website, social media, a phone number, email address, or what?
So my email address is info@clouds, the word CLOUDS, the letter X, the letter M.com. That is the best way to reach me. I give my phone out to special people.
Well, there you go. And do you have an online website where people can order products or get more information about your company?
So I do have a website. It is under construction. It's www.cloudsxm.com. I would just a little sidebar. We had a certain processing system that has suspended us. So these are some of the things in the cannabis business that people would just be like, oh, they're not aware of. And I think in some respects, it could be somewhat of a social equity issue here with having the access to that based off of just some of the interactions I've had with the people at Square. At one point they were holding $18,000 in my money. And so I wasn't sleeping at night for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So those are just some of the challenges that you have to be prepared for. And, so the website, it has some basic information on there. Definitely the Facebook page is a little bit more informative as far as for the events and stuff, but we are working on the website to try to get the online ordering back up.
Well, girl, you got to hit me up. You know, I got the hookup for this industry as it relates to payment processing. So hit me up. Anyway, thank you so much, Shaunie, for joining us today. We wish you so much success in your business. We'd love to have you back on so that we can see the progress in the next few months. And also, too, don't forget to give me the information about your event this year so that I can announce it on our, our 420 episode, which is going to be on April 18th. So get that information to me so I make sure I can announce that, okay?
Yes, please. I thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. You take care. All right, you guys. All right, you guys. So don't forget to subscribe to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast via Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite platforms. So if you'd like your products to be highlighted on the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, make sure that you get at me or my producer, Vince Chandler. His email is vince@thecannabisindustry.org, or you can actually email me at info@khadijahadams.com. If you'd like to run your company's 30-second or 1-minute commercial during our show, please be sure to inbox either one of us, and we are happy to do that. We're going to take a small commercial break, and we'll be back right after these messages.
It is the budding dispensary of knowledge.
We want to be more than just the PubMed of cannabis, the Google Scholar of cannabis. We want to be a continuing education platform that is easily accessible.
We see this as being able to leave a legacy for the entire industry and really elevate this plant to where it deserves to be.
Staying alive was no job at second hand. Moms bounced on old men.
Hey, you guys, don't forget to check out the NCIA's member news blog and the industry highlights that includes the NCIA member spotlight series. And we also highlight some of our new members who joined us through the Social Equity Scholarship Program. And I think last week we had Dr. Donise Floyd, who was also spotlighted. So don't forget, okay? And then remember to download our mobile app. Yep, the NCIA has our own mobile app. Special shout out to our DEI program sponsors, the law offices of Omar Figueroa. Y'all know I love Omar Figueroa. I love his energy. You guys, if y'all don't know him, y'all gotta look him up. And then also to Tahoe Wellness Centers, we love you. The People's Ecosystem, a therapeutic alternative, Forefront, Coronas Group, El Caption Advisors, Nice Guys Deliveries. Thank y'all so much for being a sponsor of our DEI scholarship program. We really appreciate you. Now listen, you guys, if you want to sponsor an episode of the Cannabis Minority Report, make sure that you email me directly or email my producer, Vince, at Vince, VINCE, @thecannabisindustry.org, or Khadijah Adams at khadijahadams.com, or info@khadijahadams.com. So the mission of the DEI committee is to educate, to advocate, to engage and empower the community of cannabis and its members by cultivating partnerships with other nonprofit organizations with similar goals, providing resources that create and sustains an environment that is not only inclusive, but equitable and diverse. We are committed to building a culture that respects our members and celebrates their contributions as we all work together to strengthen all communities in the cannabis industry. Until next Monday, you guys, peace, love, and hippie stuff.
NCIA's Cannabis Minority Report is a product of the National Cannabis Industry Association and NCIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We are hosted every week by Khadijah Adams. Our executive producers are Aaron Smith and Vince Chandler. We are directed by Vince Chandler and produced by Bethany Moore. Please, please, please find out everything you can about the growing and equitable cannabis industry at thecannabisindustry.org.